Okay, I believe we're live. Hi, Denise.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing great. I've had a very busy day. I'm sure you have too. This full moon in Pisces, the spiritual business seems to be booming today.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So, hello to all of our viewers. Today's podcast is with Denise Petry, also AKA known as the Queen of, what was it?
Wands.
Wands, Queen of Wands. Yeah.
Even though I'm
I
a,
wanted to make
even though
sure I said it right.
I know, even though I am a water sign, I've gravitated towards a fire sign in the tarot for some reason. It's just drawn me to her. For years, I've been the Queen of Wands. I've used that handle.
Well, that's awesome because that's, confidence, magnetic. It's, you go get her energy. And I think we could all embody that. So I'm also a water sign. I'm a Cancer Sun, Virgo Moon, Cancer
Okay,
Rising, Virgo Venus.
so you're Queen of Cups.
Yep, Queen of Cups.
Yeah.
Uh, so today we're going to talk a little bit. Denise has got all kinds of really cool things that she's creating in the metaphysical and spiritual community, which she will eventually share with us. But as per every podcast, we're going to start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who were you when you were a child? What did you go through to make you who you are today? And how did you have this spiritual awakening? Was it abrupt like mine, or is it just something that gradually happened over years? I'm going to just turn the mic over to you and let you tell your story.
Okay, so I think my earliest memory was about 5 years old, and I can remember my mother tying my dress. Back then, we always wore dresses to kindergarten, and she was tying the back of my dress, and I remember I was dancing, and I clearly remember her saying, "Come on, we're going to be late. We have to get to school." And back in those days, the 60s, you would walk your child to school. And she was walking me to school. And I said, "I don't know why we're going, Mom." I said, "My teacher will not be there." And she goes, "What do you mean your teacher won't be there?" I said, "She's not going to be there today." And when we walked in, we had a substitute. The teacher wasn't there. And I remember my mother looked at me and said, "You little witch." And she used to
Right?
tease me and call me a witch because it was known in our family. My grandmother, too, used to say that the veil was very thin. We had cousins who were known to be psychics who, would give readings and stuff. But, I was a child, so I didn't understand. And when I was about 10 years old, my aunt, who was only maybe 16, 17 at the time, decided to buy a deck of tarot cards. And she had a couple of her friends over, and I was over my grandmother's house at the time. And I just wanted to play with the cards. And, whatever they were doing, I wanted to do. And as they're listening to their Beatles music, I said to one of the girls, let me do it. Let me read your cards. And I had no idea what I was doing, none whatsoever. And I took the cards and, I laid them out and I gave her this whole scenario. And I remember she left and everything, and it was fun. And she came back a couple of weeks later and she was looking for me because she said, "Where's your niece?" She goes, "What she said happened."
Oh,
Yeah, so it was really pretty funny. And I always tell people I read till I was about, maybe my grandmother and my aunt taught me till I was about 15. And then I decided I liked boys better.
mm-hmm.
Um, so I kind of went away from that, got involved with school, went to college, and then I was a stay-at-home mom and I got back into it. But this time I decided to take courses in from tarot professionals like masters,
Mm-hmm.
really learn the art of reading tarot. But I'm also an empathic psychic, so I always put together the two. And I have friends, they'll tell me, like, I'll read for them, and they'll say, "You're not even looking at your cards." And I go, "Sometimes I don't have to, it's just a meditative state." I believe in spirit. I'm very, very spiritual, very, very spiritual. I believe in all the signs. I believe the veil is thin. They are always with us, right next to us. There's signs being given to us all the time. The more receptive you are, the more signs you will receive. there are times when you feel like you are alone, but don't ever feel that way, because there's always somebody with you and somebody is always listening to you. Now, I also have a spirit guide, and his name is Oscar. Funny name, but that's his name. And he's given me downloads all the time that, come to fruition. So I'm very fortunate, in that respect. So then once I was done with taking lessons and raising a family, I opened up a spiritual store. It was an angel and fairy store. And we would have psychic fairs, spiritual fairs once a month. And one thing about that, I was very, and my friends still tease me to this day, I was very, very particular who would read, because unfortunately in this line of work or business, whatever you want to call it, there's, there's shameful people. Okay. They just scam, they take advantage of it. So because my name was going to be associated with these fairs, I would have to vet every single reader who came in. And I'm telling you, I was just very, very mindful of who read in my stores, because a lot of people just want to do it to do it. It's like, I want to be a witch and the jewelry's cool, so I'm going to be a witch. So, being authentic is very important to me. And at one point, as we were talking earlier, I was a single mom and my store wasn't doing well financially. And I had 3 kids to support. And the only thing I could do was get on a psychic hotline where it's paid per minute. And as much as I didn't believe in it, I still kind of felt like my hand was being forced. So I went on it, and they fired me within the first 3 phone calls, because what they would do is every time you were done with a phone call, they were listening. They would call you back. Maybe it's different now, but this was about, I don't know, 15 to 16 years ago. So they would call back and they would say, Denise, you're barely getting, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of a cut to the chase reader. And
I'm just the opposite.
And they would hear me tell the people, like, well, come on, this is costing you a fortune. What else do you, what else is going on? Because I didn't want to see these people dump all their money.
Right.
And, I used to do that in my store too. Like, people would come in and I would say, wait, didn't you just get a reading? Yeah, no.
Right.
First of all, I know you're broke, so get out.
Right.
So, which kind of led me where I am today. I have a platform going up. I have 2 other investors. It's called the Tarot Bridge. There is no pay by the minute. I wouldn't allow that. All my readers are vetted. If you don't get past me, you don't get in. So it's kind of like, it's the best of the best. I feel, I have a good eye to pick somebody. So it's the best of the best. And that's hopefully going to launch within a couple of weeks. We're just working out some bugs. And like I said, it's a nice place because a lot of readers can make their own business, because that's difficult in itself, especially with social media as it stands today as a whole. It's hard to be seen on your YouTube, your Instagram, your TikTok. It's just so saturated. So we felt that we wanted to make something a little bit different, and it was going to benefit everybody. And that's what we're doing, and that's what I'm doing. But I still do readings. I read for people all over the world. I just read for a lady in Guam. I should have realized the time difference, though. I called her at like 2 a.m. So.
I've done that, been there, done that. And I've waited for clients to call me. And I'll say like 5 p.m. and they'll call me at their 5 p.m. and it's like 2 a.m. for me or whatever. So I always have to make sure I say Eastern Standard Time, because I've had to reschedule quite a few calls because there was a confusion around the time difference. Right. So I guess I would like to kind of pick your brain a little bit.
Go for it.
So what would you say was the reception in your small town of you and your family and your gifts? Did you ever feel ostracized or did you find support? Were you the odd person out? Because I know growing up, I was raised Christian. So I was in a very, very conformed religion family. And for me personally, if I talked about, dreams, people in my family would say, shh, we don't talk about that. We don't, you don't let anybody know that you can have that or hear that or see that. And I remember when my sister and her husband first got married and was, going to start their family, I had a dream that her house burnt down, and it was very realistic. I mean, it panicked me. And so I went to her house the next day in the morning for coffee before going to work. And I asked her, I said, please don't let mom watch your kids at your house this week. Take them to her, let her watch them at her house. Well, she asked me why, and I told her about the dream. And her reaction was, don't be a moron. Dreams don't come true. Don't dream about me. Well, 3 days later, she gets a call at work from her neighbor across the street, and her house is ablaze. And it was a complete and utter loss. And thankfully, her, my mom, because my mom usually would babysit the kids at her house. And Trudy, even though she didn't believe me, she did make that adjustment. And so I was always kind of considered, I had aunts that said I was possessed by the devil. They'd bring me up in front of church and have people pray over me. And, it wasn't really easy for me.
I can't say I ever had any of that. I mean, once in a while, you would tell somebody what you do, and they were like, "Oh, you believe in that?" But it's funny when you're so. I feel this way in a lot of areas of life. When you're just so confident, you don't sell yourself. You know what I'm saying? This is what I do. I'm not going to sit here and tell you why you should believe in it. You either do or you don't. It's, I guess, any walk of life. So I never sell myself. I always tell people I just never sell myself. I don't even, if you want to argue about, well, how do you know this is true? This could be it. They go into this crazy stuff. I take 2 steps back. I drop my end of the rope. Because.
Yeah, but as a child, like I'm talking about, I guess before it sounds to me like I wish I was raised in your family. My great aunt, and her husband was part of the founders of the Lilydale Casadega Lake Foundation in Lilydale, New York. So it's a really huge spiritualist community. And I didn't know, nobody really knew that it was in the bloodline. There was a photograph that we had of a woman, it was on tin, and she had all of these spirit faces above her. And on the back, it said Grandpa Whitaker's sister, and then it was all smudged. And then it said psychic medium spiritualist, and then it was all smudged. And so the first time I went to Lilydale, New York, I took that photograph with me, and come to find out she and her husband helped found the whole Casadega Lake Foundation, which is located in Lilydale, New York, and in Florida, Casadega, Florida. And so it was at that point where my family started listening to me, where they were like, oh, so it runs in the family. So maybe Tracie isn't crazy. Maybe she's not, Yeah. And so it took a long time, probably till my late 20s before anybody really seen me as anything other than a very imaginative girl. Like, it was either all in my head or it was the devil.
Right. Well, I mean, I was raised in a traditional Italian Catholic family, and don't forget the Italians invented tarot. So, nothing. I mean, I remember my grandmother doing some witchy things in the kitchen too. And I just, I never really thought anything bad of it. Now, other things like Ouija board and all that stuff, I don't go near any of that. I don't touch any of that. I come from a white light, a pure place and everything. And so I never had a problem growing up. And actually, in later years, my mom, I went to take a class, and she says, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll come with you. I said, all right. So she came with me too. And my mother's very, very psychic. Unfortunately, she's very sick now, and she's older, but she's extremely psychic. And I'm sure that's part of where I get it from. But the thing with my mother is she has a hard time concentrating. So if her mind could ever sit still, she could probably give you a good reading,
Right.
But a lot of things, and they've come out too over the years. I think it has a lot to do with ego, number one. When you read for someone, you can't worry, are you going to be right? Are you going to hit the nail on the head? This is what I tell people when I read for them. I'm giving you 100% of information. If 70 is accurate, you've got me on a good day, because one side is spirit voice and the other side is human thought process. And it's so hard to distinguish sometimes between the two. So, there's no science to it. And
Right.
nobody's 100% except for God. And I don't think he gives readings, So, and
I'm
my
pretty sure he gives all of them.
I don't know. So anyway, yeah, I never had a problem with that. I never had a problem with that at all. Like I said, a couple of people here and there throughout my life, but I don't let it bother me.
So what have you noticed in, I would say, like since 2012, spiritually? Because I've noticed, I come from a little small town, and like I said, they really don't embrace, or haven't in the past embraced, a lot of the spiritual stuff. But my socks were blown off of me about 3 weeks ago. I received an email from my hometown's public library, saying that they got my name somehow, and heard that I was, pretty impressive with the tarot, and wanted to know if I would come and teach a lecture on the tarot and divination. And they're doing a whole week of metaphysical paranormal education at the public library, which kind of blew me away, because that's just not the norm, I guess. And I noticed that things are changing. I noticed with my YouTube channel, I'm getting a lot of people who are having these spontaneous awakenings where, their whole life just kind of changes quickly. Do you deal with a lot of that? Do you read for people like that?
Yeah. Like a lot of times people will call me and they'll say, I already know, I just need validation. It's like they already know it themselves. I always tell people, well, first, let me back up a little bit. Psychic readings, tarot cards, astrology, everything that comes from a good place is becoming more acceptable. People are reaching out to it because people are tired too of mainstream religion. So people are reaching out to spirituality a little bit more. And, as long as it's done with positive people, I think it's a good thing for everyone. I believe everybody's psychic. I think we all have the ability, and it's just if you want to unlock it, because people always say to me all the time, like where I work, they'll come in to go, this crazy thing happened, but I knew it was going to happen. Isn't that crazy? And I'm like, no, it's not really, it's not really that crazy, because, like I said, we're all psychic. We all have it in us, some a little bit more than others, but that's only because we're more comfortable with it. So it's what you're comfortable with. And I do people who are afraid, because everybody goes to, like when people come to me for a reading, the first thing they say to me is, you're not going to tell me anything bad, are you? And I say, nope, that costs extra.
Right. That costs more.
Yeah. So, I think people are afraid. And, I'll be honest with you. I don't think we need to know every second of our life either. You got to know when to tell someone, okay, you've had enough of readings. You got to go away. You don't need it.
And there are those that are addicted to them. It's like an addiction, like going to the casino. I've had to turn people away and say, no, you need to wait at least another month or so before getting another reading.
I've told people, and not in a mean way, but you don't need a tarot card reader. You need a therapist. Because, people come to me sometimes and I'm like, wait, you just came for a reading. Yeah, but I need to talk this out. Well, then you either need a friend with a good ear or you need a therapist, and I don't mind talking to people, but I'm not going to take your money to have a conversation with you,
Right.
And that's another thing too. When I'm talking to people, whether I'm friends or not, they're like, wait, is that a prediction? Like, I got opinions too,
I'm more of a channeler than a predictor. I don't know that I put a lot of, I mean, obviously, if somebody pays me to do a prediction's what they're going to get. But I also do a lot of healing sessions where I read their Akashic records. I see what karma they're here to clear, what lessons they're here to learn. And I'm really good, which I wish I wasn't. This is a gift that I wish I didn't have, but I can see a person's childhood trauma almost instantly. Like I just know, okay, well, your dad was a drunk, or your mom was codependent, or your grandmother was this or that. And I can see ancestral patterning. I can hear it the minute like they start talking to me. I don't know how, I just know. And so I help a lot of people that way. And I call that ascension coaching. I don't know that there's really a title for it, but that's, what
Yeah.
I call it. But um, I really just was curious, how much have you seen the industry change? Because it sounds like you kind of remind me of my original mentors. They were just born in a family where it was normalized, and they grew up, spiritualists. They attended, some of them, you say you're Catholic, but some of them, most of them attended spiritualist churches, and they're, reverends, ministers, and they give mediumship readings, like evidential mediumship, and of course tarot, but you kind of have that feeling to me of somebody who's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt and the beer koozie, and this is probably not the first life that you've incarnated in this capacity,
No,
which is amazing.
I'm on the end of, this is it. I'm the Pisces, the last of the astrology.
Yeah.
So at the end, I get to sit back and watch everybody else.
Do you know what degree of Pisces you are?
I don't. I don't. I have my chart somewhere, but I do not know.
Do you know what your north node is?
Leo.
Leo. Okay, well, that's where you're fire. That's the Queen of Wands.
Yeah. And my rising is Scorpio. My moon is Virgo.
Ooh,
Uh,
Virgo moon. We should get along great. That's what I am.
and my Venus is Pisces. And my sun is Pisces and my Virgo moon. I think they fight each other, but I always tell people my Virgo moon keeps me organized, keeps me right on track. So
Right? Yeah, so I have Virgo everywhere. Like if you pulled up my chart, there's like 11 places. It's crazy. I'm a Cancer sun, a Virgo moon, Cancer rising, Virgo Venus.
oh,
And then
wow.
I have Virgo all over the place in other places.
Mm-hmm.
And but my Pisces is my Chiron's in Pisces, which,
Mm-hmm.
that's a slow moving asteroid anyhow. So a lot of people that are my age has Pisces for their Chiron. But yeah, I have a girlfriend who's an astrologer. I've been dabbling a little bit. I don't know a whole heck of a lot, but I do know that the degree at which your sign is can
Mm-hmm.
tell you whether it's truly your last trip around the block, or it's just like you're ending a cycle. Because 29 degrees is the end
Ah,
of,
yeah.
yes. So if you were Pisces, 29 degrees Pisces on the moment you were born, this is your last life. You're clearing your Akashic records. You're paying all your debts. All your debts are being paid back to you. And, then you get to accelerate to like the fifth or sixth or beyond dimension and choose whether you want physicality or not. But is there, I know we had to keep this podcast kind of short because you've got a reading coming up, but is there anything that you would like to share with the audience about their awakening, like any advice you could give them on how to keep themselves? For me, the hardest thing was because I channel, I wasn't a pure channel.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while there, was channeling messages that were not fear-based. They were kind of pretending they were the light. But it was preaching separation, not unity. And separation consciousness is not what I incarnated here to create. So it took a little discerning and practice with me to really kind of clear my filters to where I don't know, nothing but love comes in, nothing but love goes out. There's no separation, where we're all one, we're all God experiencing itself.
Right, right. I've been fortunate, but I feel like I'm so protected. I've never had any evil messages or whatever. My guides have always been kind. And I've always told people, well, how do we know the voices are real? Well, how do they make you feel? I said, when you feel love and you feel confident and you feel safe, I said, then you know those are the real voices. I said, if you're hearing voices and it's making you fearful, anxious, angry, I said, those are voices not to listen to, you know? So, I've coached a lot of people. I've taught people how to power cards and how to go with their gut feeling and to, learn to trust themselves, because a lot of people, that's why they come to me, because they're like, I think I know the answer, but I want to see what you have to say.
Yeah.
So, I think that, I guess people hide it a lot. I know there's people who'll say, oh, well, I hid my cards from my husband, or I hid it from this or hid it from that. And I think unless you can really be open and accept it and just be proud of it, spirituality, then it's kind of hard. You're living double life, so to speak. So I think, it's like anything, own it, but, I always say too, I'm 61. I don't really care anymore. You get to a point where you just, you drop the rope, you walk away.
Well, you guys were the first, yeah, maybe not the first, but you were one of the first waves of spiritual people coming in. You kind of paved the road for people like me. I'm not a lot younger than you. I'll be 56, but I do notice there are waves, right? It's like we had the 50s, the 60s.
1962, and I've been told this by different astrologer friends and everybody and stuff. 1962 was one of the largest entries of spiritual people. That's the only way I can describe it. Yeah, that year there was the largest, when the spiritual community really was brought to.
Are you familiar with the work of Dolores Cannon?
Yes, I love Dolores Cannon. I listen to her all the time. So I believe that, but again, we have a lot of people who are spiritual and who see and know things, but they don't tell anyone. They're going around telling anyone because they don't.
Yeah.
You have to feel comfortable with it. You have to feel comfortable within yourself.
Right. Well, and it goes back a lot of times too to that family ancestral teachings, ancestral patterning. It's like occasionally you'll get a child that busts out of the box and says, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to be like this. Right. But for the most part, a lot of us, when I say us, I mean people in general. I don't mean us. But I just notice in my own journey here that most of the people that find me, I don't know why, but it seems like I have a concentrated purpose. Most of the people that find me are breaking ancestral trauma. They're, like I am a generation of 15 generations of alcoholics or you know, sexual abuse and their purpose in this lifetime is to break the chain, to heal the ancestral line. It's like they take on all of the healing themselves, heal it, and then break the chain. And a lot of them are barren. They're not capable, which is a pattern that shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I asked about it or was seeking it. I'm not doing research, but it seems to show up a lot in my own healings that I do with my clients. Is a lot of the women, it's like the rise of the divine feminine, a lot of the people that find me are breaking ancestral trauma. They're healing from the inside out. And I just seem to notice that a lot of them have had near-death experiences. Seems to be a pattern of the people that find me. And another pattern I see is that they can't have children.
Yeah, I don't know if I've experienced that, but I have to say that everybody who comes my way will tell me they felt drawn to me, whether they've seen me on social media, or word of mouth, but they all believe. So,
Right.
when you come with an open heart, you know, it's good. You know, you don't want to come where, you know, oh, my friend said I need a reading.
Right,
It's
right.
like,
My friend told me you were going to tell me how to fix my life.
yeah, I can't, you know what? Most days I don't even like to fix my own. I don't want to fix yours.
Right, right.
So, yeah, we're
Well,
not to tell people what to do. You know, I always say with tarot, and tarot is really a good form of counsel, also spiritual counsel. But, you know, it kind of shows you, I always tell people we live in a box, you know, and tarot just kind of brings us outside that box and we start looking in
right,
from the outside. So it just gives us a different view, a different perspective. A good reader is like a set of headlights on another set of headlights on your car when you're on a dark road. We just show up some more things that maybe you knew were there, but you didn't know were there. You know, you subconsciously didn't want to know they were there. So we just kind of shine those lights on them. Because I like it when people walk away and they go, you know, I feel better now, because that means a lot to me. Because if people don't feel better or enlightened or powerful after one of my readings, then I'm in the wrong business.
right, right. Yeah, I love what I do. I would do this all day, every day for the rest of my life. And, you know, it took me a long time to take money for it. You know, I was in that that lack consciousness of, you know, it should be given away free. It's a God's gift. And, you know, you don't monetize that. Took me years to realize that God wants to, you know, the universe wants to support us.
Right.
The same way everybody else gets supported. You're not really selling anything. You're just, you know, giving your time, and your time is worth something.
Although some readers are a little excessive, I
Yeah,
will say. I think they're excessive, what they charge, you know. But that's just my opinion.
yeah. No, I totally get it. I won't mention any names, but um, I go to a lot of these really big holistic health expos and psychic conventions, and you know, star galactic consciousness stuff. And I've met some big readers. Like if I dropped a name, you'd be like, everybody knows that name.
Yeah.
And I've sat down and had lunch with them and had conversations with them. And when I heard how much money they charge for a reading, it just blew me away. Not in a good way, but
Right.
in a way like, you know, there comes a time when ego you should transcend that ego just a little bit. You know, just because you're good at what you do doesn't mean that you have to um, rake people over the coals that really need your help. So
Right.
yeah, I won't drop any names, but I'm sure you would know who I'm talking about. I've met a lot of really famous people on my journeys, and I most of them are very integral, but there are a handful of them that I thought, I wouldn't pay $10 to get a message from you. You're so stuck in your ego.
Right.
It goes through those filters, you know, that human filter first. But no advertising is bad advertising, I guess.
Well, I've always felt I kept my prices pretty low, because there's a lot of people, you know, they don't have the means or the funds, you know.
Right.
So this way here, they have an opportunity to come. And I mean, considering what a lot of other people charge, I feel you know, I'm pretty middle of the road.
Yeah.
I want the
Oh,
same on my site, you know, at the Tower Bridge, because I don't want people dropping their paychecks at my site. I
right.
don't, you know, that's why I refuse to do that pay by the minute thing. I think that's the biggest, you know, fiasco they're ever invented. Um, but I do want people to be able to feel comfortable to come and visit all my readers and know that each and every one has been approved by me. Know that each and every one is, you know, somebody who they can feel comfortable with, and they don't feel like, oh, this person's a scammer, or, you know, whatever term they
Right.
want to use. So I don't have a lot of readers. You know, we've only just really started putting it out there recently, but I have enough, and I've been vetting people, and, you know, I have to know. I mean, I've turned away a lot of people. I had a girl come to me. She gave me a video, did a reading, gave me her background. She said she was reading for 5-10 years, which is fine. You don't have to be 100 years, but no, it looks like she bought the cards yesterday. And I said, no, I wouldn't want this. I wouldn't want someone coming onto my site and paying to get a reading from her. But what I am going to do is I'm going to have junior readers, and their prices will be reflective of that. So in other words, you know how sometimes you go to a hair salon and you have junior hair cutters and senior hair cutters, and you pay, you know, for whatever they're
Right, you're paying for their experience.
That's what I'm going to do on my site, because everybody needs a chance to start. And I don't think these people are bad. I just think they don't have the experience. So I'm going to have a special little section, you know, if you're tight on money and you want to try out one of our maybe student readers, you know, come on in and try one out.
That's awesome. So
yeah.
We were talking a little bit in the beginning before we started recording. You and I found each other, I think, accidentally. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I think somebody gave me, could you reach out to my friend? She wants to read on your site. And they gave me a name that was similar to yours. But I wasn't you. And I just reached out to you and boom, here we are.
I know. And I'm really excited to read for your tarot bridge. I'd like to give it a shot myself. And, you know, it's an opportunity. YouTube just isn't, you know, bringing in the views that it used to. It's like you said, oversaturated. I haven't really figured out TikTok yet. I am on Rumble and BitChute. I do a little bit of videos over there, not a lot. Just started that.
Places.
Well, you know, YouTube, you have to be very careful about what you say. And your tarot cards, if they show nudity, if the algorithm picks up, like say the star card shows a naked woman.
I've been banned for a little bit on TikTok because of my star card and my lover's card.
Yeah, you have to kind of draw a bikini on them or buy an alternative deck. I love to collect decks, so I've probably got over 225 tarot decks, all different. And it seems to be something people are enjoying creating new. So I read intuitively. I love to read with the artwork as well as the standard you know, teachings of the card. I use both and integrate both in my readings. But it was funny because you reached out to me and you asked me to send you videos. I sent you videos, and then you reached out and told me, you know, that I was approved to read on your site. And then I asked you, I'm like, well, how did you find me? I'm like,
hey lady, how are you?
How did you find me? And you're like, well, I really don't know. I'm like, well, I don't know either, but I'm glad, I'm happy. I mean, I don't believe in mistakes. I mean, the universe aligns us with every experience we're meant to have. So, you know, I feel like Curious George. I'm like, okay, well, Spirit just dropped this in my lap. What's this going to do for the future?
Yeah, and what the funny part is, there's obviously still a reader out there who's waiting for me to contact her. I'm going to have to at some point go back. I have all these emails, go back through and try to find out exactly who this other person is. Her name was, I'm assuming, similar to yours. So.
Well, that's just wonderful. I love the way Spirit works. It's always a nice day when you get a nice surprise and it turns out to be something really good. I was glad to bring you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I will share all of your contact information. If anybody out there is a reader and you know, looking to further your business, you can reach out to Denise, and she'll vet you really good. So you better be good. But no, I totally, I am so down with what you're doing. Matter of fact, you remind me of a friend of mine who also started off with a metaphysical store. You know, it was a metaphysical jewelry store. She sold tarot cards, oracle cards, candles, incense, clothing, jewelry, you name it. And she was a huge part of my awakening too, you know, Soul Tribe. And so you remind me a lot of her. She's an Aquarius, and she gets a lot of inspiration to really work in the community. Like it's she's community driven, and I kind of see that in you a lot, where you're you're there, you know, to do community service, not line your pockets and just
No,
make
and
money off.
one thing about my, I call them seekers, users, they are, I am like so possessive of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never want them to get, you know, strayed away or anything. I'm just so possessive of them. You know, I want them to only have the best. I
Right,
don't any frauds out there, and that worries me, you know, them getting a fraud, getting a hold of them.
right, right. Well, thank you so much. Now, don't hang up, because if you hang up before I stop recording, it doesn't record. So I'm going
Yeah.
to go ahead and just thank you so very much for coming on to the podcast. Thank you for sharing your gifts, your talents, telling us a little bit about how you grew up and how you know, um, your story's a lot more secure than a lot of the people I've done a podcast with, and that's so beautiful. I want people to know that it's not hard for everybody. It's not like, you know, the tower moment was your awakening, which a lot of people are having those tower moments. Everything they built that was a facade, it's like, I know how to be a mother, I know how to be a girlfriend or a wife or a coach, or I know how to do all this, but it's not who I truly and authentically am.
Mhm.
And you know, there's some people out there that are having these abrupt awakenings that just everything they built just gets ripped out from underneath them, and with their free will choice they rebuild in a much more foundational, spiritual, self-loving, self-recognizing way.
Mhm.
And so, you know, my podcast is just trying to connect people so they don't feel like they're the only person that that's happened to. And it's beautiful that they could possibly, you know, find your contact information and connect with you to help them in ways that, you know, they really need it right now.
Right.
And
Right.
so thank you so much for being here.
Well,
Um,
thank you
this,
for having me.
this has been a very wonderful podcast. And like I told you before, I probably won't post it live for a couple of days because I did 2 podcasts today.
Okay.
And I don't like to put them both up at the same time, so I'll space them out a little bit. But
Okay.
as soon as we're done, I'll send you all the links, and you can share on your social media as well.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. We'll see you on
Bye.
the next upload. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Go to the Tower Bridge and sign up. Be first
Yes,
in line.
everything will be in the description box so they can go check it out, and email you directly if they want to contact you to become a reader or to get a reading.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.